One of my favorite photographers on YouTube has reviewed my zine, Quest of the Lonely Heart, Volume 1, and I'm about to react to his review. Some of y'all might not know this, but I did release a zine a couple of years ago. This was before I was getting really serious about marketing my stuff. It was based off of my travels in Puerto Rico in 2019. And it's one of my favorite moments of my life. It was a momentous occasion for me because it was one of the first times that I felt like a stretch of time needed to be documented physically. That zine for me was sort of like a soft launch into printing my photography. Something that happened to me in 2019, right before the pandemic, is I was asked to go live in an artist in residence in Puerto Rico in this neighborhood called La Perla. La Perla is notorious for being a very dangerous place. And it's like any kind of hood that you go to. The hood has a different story than its reputation. I found myself working in tandem with this wonderful artist named Pia Love. She was a model, a dancer, a costume creator. She did so many things, and she taught me a lot. It was the first time as a photographer that I felt I was pushed by another artist in that way. There's a steeper learning curve when it comes to taking a picture of someone and having them feel good about the picture that you took. That was a big step for me because we were trading art for rent. That was a huge deal for me because I was living in my car. You know what I mean? I was like living in my car. I was couch surfing at my friends' houses in Philly and, you know, just really in shambles when it came to my financial health. And so that was a really big confidence boost. I've been watching Ted Forbes' channel, The Art of Photography, for a couple of years. And one of my favorite segments that he has is when he reviews zines and books that people send in. I sent my zine in like a long time ago. And I started getting these DMs and from people saying, yo, I like your work. And I was like, okay, this is cool. And it was at a time when I wasn't even really posting. When I got to the channel and watched his video, I said, oh damn, he reviewed my book. This is humbling, this is crazy. He's got an insane amount of followers, and that was, you know, to me, that's such a huge deal when somebody who has a following is like, yo, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a nudge. But then also the words that he said, like they were encouraging and they were positive, but they were constructive. So I felt really inspired to make this reaction video. I'm doing it so far after he's reviewed the book. He reviewed it a couple of months ago, but the space that I was in was not conducive to vlogging. And I've created my space and I'm, creating this vlogging space. And the first episode that I wanted to do was with Ted Forbes' Art of Photography, because I want him to know that it meant a lot to me that he reviewed that book, that it meant a lot to me that him as an artist and as a photographer took the time to be like, oh yeah, I want to check this out. You know what I'm saying? That's huge. That's huge. So, without further ado, let's get into this.
So next up is this little scene. This comes to us from Angel Raphael, and it is little. Wrong way to assume. This is called Quest of the Lonely Heart, Volume 1.
Now, one of the reasons why I wanted to make it like a little zine is because in the process of creating it, and this might happen with y'all, but in the process of creating it, I wanted to have basically like an 8x10 folded in half in case I printed it out. I didn't have a printer that was good enough to print the book, to print the photos out. I ended up just sending it out to this place called Fireball Printing in Philadelphia, which is amazing. They do amazing work. But that's the reason why it was small the way that it was. And I actually like it. It's like a little, you can fit it in your pocket, you know?
Old San Juan and La Perla 2019.
Old San Juan, La Perla. Shout out to Puerto Rico, ya tú sabes.
With a note which reads, "Dear Ted, I love your channel and all of the info you share. I've learned so much about creating zines from watching your channel. Thank you for all the work you do. This is my first zine. I'm a musician by trade, but have been transitioning to full-time photographer and videographer. I look forward to learning more, Angel." You guys have probably heard me say more than
Okay, before he gets into that, every word was spoken from the heart. I'm really appreciative of YouTube as an education platform. It's amazing what you can learn from people that are doing it. Sometimes you have people with very low followers and no business savvy that are giving you tutorials that can really fundamentally change you as an artist. And sometimes you're getting big, badass people with, tons of clients that are also giving you information. So it's a great resource if you use it the right way.
You guys have probably heard me say more than a few times, I am a huge fan of little zines and little books. I think this is something that is very overlooked by photographers in general. We want to print our work big, or at least we want to go with kind of conventional sizes. I love when things are done with a small format. And the reason that I love that, and it could be prints, it could be zines, it could be books, the reason that I love that, there's an intimacy to this that draws you in. This is something that I know you're not going to pick up on the video necessarily because I hold everything close to the camera so you can see it, but there's something that draws you into this, and it works.
Those pictures with Pia are so special to me because she is the definition of an artist. She's insane, and she just goes from one thing to the next and does it with such excellent execution that it's like, how does one person have that much skill? I don't want to say talent because sometimes talent can be like a negative thing, it's like, oh, they were born with it. Maybe she's born with it, maybe it's Maybelline. Like, talent is something that people are born with, but skill is something that you develop. So she is talented, but she's also skillful because she works her ass off. And just being in her studio and taking pictures of her was wild to me.
As an object and not as a digital asset necessarily that you're looking at online. I think that's really cool. I love the format on this. One thing that is very challenging with this format actually is when you're dealing with landscape orientation images. So in other words, you're not utilizing the full page. And so I think he does this really well with his layouts when you have things that work in juxtaposition to one another in terms of where they sit on the page.
For y'all that want to create zines, that's going to be something really big for you too. Because I'm an adventure sort of photographer, there's always going to be some amazing things that you're going to be taking pictures of that you see. And so, landscape orientation isn't really going to do well with a book that's, like this. So that's kind of what he's talking about. I feel good about, how I attacked that challenge and how I came across. But yeah, you're going to have that issue when you're creating your stuff too, and I hope it comes across. But check out my zine too if you're a landscape photographer that wants to make a small sort of zine, and maybe it'll inspire you for your work.
Also works really well when Angel goes into a format where you're using multiple images on the page. For instance, there's a couple spreads where we have 3 up, there's one with 5.
Yo, I'm just gonna talk from the standpoint of an artist and a photographer, right? I can't take credit for sort of the visuals of her body, but I can take credit for the capturing of it. You dig? So from that point as a photographer before, right? My whole thing was sort of to be a documentarian photographer in that sense. Like, yo, what's happening? In the true sense, I was like shooting photography. Because if there was a moment, like a duck flying by, bang, got it. Bang, moment, right? This was the first time in my career that I was making photography. I was making photos. She was very intentional, of course, with the things that she wore, and she understands fashion. The picture on the bottom left there with the leaves, she painted her whole body. 10 days out of 10, 100 days out of 100, at that point in my career, if somebody was like, hey, let's do some photos, but I want you to be the art director, I wouldn't have thought about that. I wouldn't have thought about painting my body or painting my model's body and doing stuff. I'll just say, hey, let's go to this cool place. Oh, look at this river. I'm gonna take a picture with you in front of this river. It took me from a sense of trying to get the picture because I was so concerned with the technique of photography to, okay, you know what shutter speed is, you know what ISO is, you know what aperture is, now make something. It's sort of like as a musician when you learn how to play a classical piece. In the first couple of moments, you're just it's like mechanical, right? And then you start learning how to make it sing. Dynamics, all of those things start coming in. Photography is the same way. You stop looking at it from like, oh, technique, I just gotta get it, to art direction and framing and emotion and feeling. And this particular spread right here was really integral to that.
For instance, there's a couple spreads where we have 3 up, there's one with 5, and we've got a full bleed in the middle. This is actually something that's not easy to do because you want your best work in here, but you also want the images to make sense and have a dialogue with one another and relate to one another as you see them on the page. And I think Angel has done this really well here. Also, the subject matter of Puerto Rico in here is very interesting, kind of a funny story aside.
Before he gets to his story, as artists, we have to have that self-confidence in us. But we're not always gonna be self-confident. We're not always gonna be able to draw from that well. And there's gonna be times you might not even know it, but you could be self-confident, and then not realizing that maybe you need some validation, maybe you need some love. You know, you kind of get pushing and pulling into the system of bettering yourself. Sometimes it's just really cool to hear, yo, I like your work, and hear it from somebody who's getting dozens of zines, probably a month or a week or maybe hundreds. I don't know. It just feels good. Thanks, Ted.
Matter of Puerto Rico in here is very interesting and kind of a funny story aside. I actually was in Puerto Rico in February. I was down there with my local camera store, Fort Worth Camera. They had myself and another photographer, and we had gone down there to do photography workshops. Got all the way to Puerto Rico, got through the first night, and the second day, found out I had COVID. So I spent the next 3 days sitting in a hotel room, and the workshop didn't happen like we wanted it to, and I couldn't be around other people. And so anyway, I spent a couple days in the hotel room. Fortunately, it was a very nice hotel room with a beautiful Juliet window that opened up with a little balcony, and so I was able to photograph from there, and boy, I shot the hell out of that hotel room. But Puerto Rico is absolutely beautiful, and a lot of the street scenes in here are very familiar to me, so maybe I'm a little jaded with that. But Angel, this is a wonderful little book. Thank you for sending it. All right, so now...
Yes, sir, Ted Forbes. Thank you so much for that review. Thank you so much for your words. My friend, Ted, I am a connoisseur of Puerto Rico. That's where my dad is from. That's where my mom is from. I am a first-generation Puerto Riqueño of the United States. So what I pose to you, Ted Forbes, the next time you're going to Puerto Rico, Angel, what up? I'm going to PR. What can I see? I got you. Better yet, Angel, I'm going to Puerto Rico. Are you free? Ted, I got you. Ted, my man, the next time you're in Puerto Rico, let's chill. I will show you some beautiful waterfalls, some beautiful rivers, some beautiful beaches, some real authentic-ish, my friend. I got you. I got you. Thank y'all for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what y'all think about the new setup. Tell me what y'all think. I'm really excited about this new space. I'm really optimistic about my life as a businessman, as a photographer and a videographer, and as an artist. I'm an artist. Shout out to Wednesday in Lancaster, The Ripple Effect. They made this really cool shirt, and I got it for free for attending one of their workshops. Anyways, I'm doing things that I've never done in my life before, so any feedback is appreciated. I love y'all. Thank y'all so much for watching. Have a beautiful day.